So let's start with the course overview. So if you look at the syllabus, there are different topics listed in the syllabus. Okay. So if you look at the first set of topics, they really are about understanding the context for the data structures and algorithms. So when we say that we are going to represent data on a computer and we are going to run our algorithms on a computer, the first question we have to answer is, well, what computer we are talking about? Okay. So there is a wide variety of physical computers, different computer models. So there is really no point in sticking to one particular specific computer model. So instead of that, what we'll do is we'll build an abstract model of the computer by defining something called a model of computation. So this model would be somewhat similar to the real world electronic digital computers that we have, but the model would miss some things as compared to the actual computers. So we'll discuss the details of this model of computation to begin with, and then we'll talk about how we are going to represent our algorithms. We want this representation to be sort of independent of any particular programming language. So we'll talk about what different components that we need to represent. So we will need to represent, say, algorithm, variables, various mathematical operations, then conditional statements, looping constructs, various procedures, and so on. So we'll talk about that representation of the algorithm in a sort of language neutral manner. So once we define the representation of an algorithm on a particular model of computation, the question we would like to ask is, well, how this algorithm would perform on our computer, this virtual computer that we have talked about. And that's where comes the question of problem size. So we would typically like to know how the performance of the algorithm changes with respect to the problem size. So if I give larger input, if the computer has to process more data, how its performance changes. And when we talk about performance, we are going to analyze it in terms of multiple resources. So we'll focus on two resources: the space, that is how much memory it requires, and the time, how much compute time it requires, or how many instructions it has to finish to complete its execution. And again, here we won't go into the details of exact number of instructions or exact time in seconds, or we won't talk about exact memory in terms of bytes, but we would introduce certain abstractions and try to get approximate analysis. Okay? So that's the first set of topics that deal with understanding the context of analyzing data structures and algorithms. Okay? Then we'll talk about something called abstract data type, and this particular concept will help us to separate the specification of data structure from its implementation. So we can define data structure, say array, and then it can be implemented in many different ways. And this is one of the most common mistakes we do, that we associate a particular data structure with only a particular implementation. And it's very important to separate these out. Okay? We might have a frequent or most popular implementation of a data structure in a particular way, but that does not mean that the data structure and its implementation are one and the same. Okay? So once we understand what is abstract data type, we'll first go and study some basic simple data structures: array, list, matrix, stack, and queue. So many of you who have done CS101, you might have had some introduction for these data structures, but we will not assume any background. So we'll start from scratch and teach these data structures right from the beginning. So once we are done with the basic data structures, then we will move to tree-based data structures, where data would have a different way of arranging themselves in a parent-child kind of relationship. So we'll first talk about binary trees, then we will move on to heap, and then we'll go on to search trees. And within search trees, we would have variety. So we'd start with the simplest binary search tree, then go to height balance trees, which are AVL tree, red black tree, and B tree. See, we have only 40 or 42 classes in this course. So in each variety of these data structures, it might not be possible to cover each and every data structure. So what we do is we try to cover the various flavors of data structures. So for example, if we spend some time on tree-based data structures, we might not have enough time to look into details of the B tree, okay, or the red-black tree. So the goal would be to cover the variety of data structures, and at the end, if we still have time, if we still have classes remaining, then we would go and cover this whole variety. Okay, so even if we are listing all these trees here, it's not necessary that we would actually have time to go and cover all these trees. But essential idea is that all of these are variants of trees. So all of them are going to arrange your data in parent-child relationship. Okay, they would differ in different things. Okay, so we would look at them. Okay, but essentially all of them are of the one single paradigm. Okay, and from trees we'll move to graphs. So in trees we had this strict parent-child relationship. Now we have complete non-linearity. Okay, so any data element can be linked to any other data element. That's what the graphs are. Okay, and there are many real-world things which can be represented as graphs. For example, the social networks where people are friends with each other. Okay, or the cities which are connected by roads, or people who call each other over cell phones. Okay, so all these different real-world relations are captured by graphs, and that's why they are very important data structure. So we'll look at various ways to represent the graphs, and then we would limit ourselves only to traversing these graphs. So graph algorithms itself is a big topic, but again we don't have much time, so we'll talk about only traversals of the graphs. And once we are done with the graphs, then we'll talk about data structures for hashing. So we'll talk about three different hashing methods: direct address hashing method, hashing with chaining, and hashing with probing. So again, depending on how much time we have, we might do only a subset of topics in hashing. Okay. And then we'll talk about the data structures for specifically text. So we'll talk about strings, tries, suffix trees, suffix arrays. So again, tries and suffix trees, they are sort of variants of trees. So again, they won't be high priority for us, but let's see, if we have time, we'll go into them. Okay. And then last part is the algorithms. We'll talk about algorithms for searching, linear search, binary search, and then we'll talk about a variety of algorithms for sorting. So again, if you see this course, it is sort of heavily tilted towards data structures, and it is a bit light on algorithms, because first we have to make ourselves comfortable with the data representation, and then we can devote more time to operating over that data. Okay, but when we talk about data representation, we have to talk about various operations over the data. So for example, when we are doing, say, AVL tree or binary search tree, in a way we are also covering some algorithms, because without that we won't understand those data structures. Okay, so that's the overview of the topics that we will cover in this course, but please understand that it might not be possible to cover all the topics. Typically we end up covering only a subset of topics, but I think that it is important to cover a few topics, but cover them well, cover in depth, so that, well, you can always go back and read a new topic. Okay, so instead of covering 5 types of trees in a hurry, I'll prefer to cover 2 types of trees in depth. With that knowledge, you can easily go back to a textbook and read about 3 other trees. Okay, so that's the overview of the course, and then we'll start about each topic from the next